So, the fourth and final installment of the Rebuild of Evangelion series, which they are deciding to call 3.0 plus 1.0 rather than 4.0, is coming out soon, but with the word soon in quotes, because it was originally planned to open in Japanese theaters at the end of June 2020, but it got delayed because of, the Rona. And now we don't know, but I think that probably to say sometime in the next year is when it will open in Japan, and therefore sometime in the next 3 to 4 years is when it will be, officially and legally released outside of Japan. Probably sounds about right. And therefore, I figured that today would be a good time to not only speculate a little bit about what I think will happen in this final installment, but also just to talk about a couple theories and whether or not I believe specifically in whether or not sequel theory is true or not. So, yeah, I guess without further ado, let's just dive into this. So, the first really big thing is that I feel... So we already know that Wheelie's airship, the AAA Wonder, is powered by Unit 1, and that Unit 1's AT field is the same AT field that's used to, let that ship fly. Which means that either Yui's soul is okay with them using it, or there is a pilot inside Unit 1 that they haven't explicitly shown us yet. And I do think that the Rei that Shinji appeared to save in the second film, that we were then told was dead in the third film, I think that that's a lie, because... and that she is alive, and that she's piloting Unit 1, or more accurately, acting as Unit 1's power source, so that the power source can power the Wonder. And I also think that the reason why Unit 1 is not rejecting her, even though it did reject the dummy plug, is because I feel that Shinji rejecting the dummy plug when Unit 1 tore apart Unit 3 would have been undone by him saving Rei, because the simple truth is whatever Shinji is and isn't okay with when he uses Unit 1 determines what Unit 1 will and will not allow. So because he was all about saving Rei the last time he was in Unit 1, I think that Unit 1 would not reject her, even though, it did reject the dummy halfway through the second movie. Next is, even though the first Rebuild movie... So the first Rebuild movie is essentially the same as the show. The second is a lot more cheery and upbeat, and then the third very much so has, the downbeat, late series, end of Evangelion vibes. And therefore, that does make it kind of hard to predict what the overall tone of the entire quadrilogy is going to be as a whole. However, I think that the dark tone that was established by 3.0 is going to continue to be present in this finale, and that we are going to be given, yet again, an ending that is very sad, depressing, and lukewarm, like both the original series and End of Evangelion, and that I am not expecting a happy ending. And also, in 3.0, when Kaoru said that Evangelion 13 using Longinus and Cassius could restore the world and bring everyone back, I believe him, and I think that that is true, but I don't think that that's going to come to fruition. I don't think it's going to happen. And when it comes to fighting and shit, I feel like that I feel like that the bulk of the movie is going to be focused on, character shit and actually bringing Shinji's story to a conclusion, because it is his story, and that the bulk of the fighting in the movie, though, I think is probably going to be Asuka and Mari using their Eva to fight the mass productions, and that probably for the final impact, Shinji will be involved with that, but whenever that happens at the end of the movie, that's probably going to be the only time that we see Shinji in an Eva. Now, when it comes to Rei, I feel like that if my theory about the 1.0, 2.0 Rei being alive is correct, I think that there will have to be some kind of Rei versus Rei fight. However, if I'm wrong about that, and the Nerve Rei is the only one that's alive, then I don't know what they would do with her, because Lilith is completely 100% dead, because she was decapitated and her body was turned to mush. So I don't think that Uber Rei, like the Lilith Rei Shinji Karu Giant of Light merge from End of Evangelion, I don't think that's going to be making any type of appearance in that. And of course, another thing is that despite the fact that the third Rebuild movie is already 8 years old, speaking realistically, like, the theatrical cut of this film is probably going to be just like 90 minutes, and then it'll probably get like a version that's like 3.33 plus 1.11, which has like another 10 minutes of footage in it, just like the way all the other ones do. So, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. Because it's hard, because I feel like that, because my End of Evangelion and Evangelion 3.33 are my favorite and least favorite aspects of the Evangelion franchise, respectively, which is kind of weird considering how similar they are in tone, but I think it's because in the Rebuild series, the second film made it seem like that the entire point of the Rebuilds is this is a version of Eva that is focused on action and a happy ending. So having that paradigm shift felt kind of out of nowhere, and also the fact that 14 years passed and a lot of important things that we didn't get to see happened definitely broke immersion. Oh, and that's something else that's worth mentioning. When it comes to all the crazy shit that happened off screen between 2 and 3, I don't think that they're going to tell us or show us any more of that. I don't think that we're gonna like get flashbacks to when Unit 6 was an angel, or see how Lilith went from the fat amorphous humanoid form to the Rei form, or explain like how the specific details of how Wheelie splintered off from Nerve, or how they got the Lance of Cassius, because they have it. But it's hard. And you know what? It's also the type of thing, though, where, like, every single one of these Rebuild movies, when they've released, and I've watched them, has not gone the way that I predicted they would in my head. And therefore, most of these predictions are probably not going to are not really going to come to fruition either way. But either way, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited. But I'm also, thankfully, capable of being patient, because I'm going to have to be, because I think that soon, saying that this movie is coming soon is a very, very relative term. So, anyway, I think that that's all I got to say for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. However, most importantly, and I probably should have said this early here, is that I definitely want to know, because Evangelion is a franchise that's always been very open to interpretation. So I want to know, like, do you guys think sequel theory is real? And do you think Rey from the first 2 films is alive or dead? And what do you think is going to happen in the final installment? Like, I definitely want to know you guys' opinions with all that. And yeah, and and personally, I didn't say my thoughts on sequel theory. So my thoughts on sequel theory are this: there is evidence supporting sequel theory. So I understand why the people that believe it. But I think that the amount of evidence contradicting sequel theory is much greater. So I do not believe. And the biggest reason why is because the way that the original series, or the way that the original series and End of Evangelion ends, is Shinji realizes that as shitty as the world is, there are good things about it, and that it is the world that he prefers because it is the world that he is familiar with. And therefore, he decides to not change the world at all, and he makes it so that everyone gets to choose for themselves whether or not to be reborn as a human or to return to the Black Moon of Lilith. And when this decision is made, the Shinji-Lilith hybrid that had the power to alter the world dies. Meaning that Shinji changing the world further after the credits roll in End of Evangelion can't happen because the means to do so no longer exist. And also, most importantly, because Shinji's final decision was to let everyone have their own choice about whether or not they were a human, about whether or not they were rebirthed or not, to make it so that the next installment is everyone was forced to be rebirthed, and on top of that, time was rewound, the past was altered, and their memories were erased, is contradictory to the message and the moral of the finale. And the simple truth is, yes, it wouldn't, for sequel theory to be true, everyone being reborn by force, everyone losing their memories, and the hands of time being rewound back to 2015 would all have to be things that happened. Because in the first Rebuild movie, they do say that it's 2015, and it's 2016 when the series ends. And you know what? I've gone about this enough. Maybe, if you guys are interested, I might make a full sequel theory later, because I think I could easily spend a good 15-20 minutes talking about just that topic alone. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, peace.